Which states are so flat that they have buildings as their highest point? Now, I don't mean buildings on mountains, like this one on Mount Whitney in California. I mean states with buildings that have a higher elevation span than the natural topography of the state. As far as I can tell, there are just 3 states that fit this criteria. Can you guess which ones? Now, your first instinct might be to say a notoriously flat state, like Kansas. But Kansas actually has a pretty large elevation span. It's just one big ramp from west down to east. And I mean, look, they don't have super tall buildings either. So you might say, okay then, what about a state that does have tall buildings, like New York? Well, New York's tallest structure is 1,776 feet tall. But the state's highest mountain, Mount Marcy, is almost exactly triple that height. I think the real answers will make a lot of sense once you hear them. The 3 states are as follows. Most obviously, we have Florida, the flattest state in the entire country, with a highest point of just 345 feet. Florida has over 50 buildings that are taller than this hill. The state's tallest building, Panorama Tower in Miami, is more than twice as tall at 868 feet. That means that if you're in this building above about here, you're above the entire state of Florida. Next up, we have Illinois, which isn't just super flat, but also has some of the country's tallest buildings, like the famous 1,400-foot tall Willis Tower in Chicago, which towers above the state's highest point, Charles Mound, which is 1,200 feet above sea level. However, because Illinois is landlocked, it actually only has an elevation span of about 960 feet. Chicago has 9 buildings higher than that. And lastly, this is probably the most unintuitive one. We have Louisiana, with a highest point of 535 feet at Driscoll Mountain, and a highest building of 697 feet in New Orleans. Louisiana only has 2 buildings higher than its highest point. As a bonus fact, the state on the opposite end of the spectrum would of course be Alaska. Its tallest building doesn't even break 300 feet tall. And whereas Miami's tallest building is more than twice as tall as its highest point, Alaska's highest point is more than 70 times as tall as its highest building. Should I do a video on the same stat but for countries? Let me know in the comments below and follow for more.